Good morning, everybody. It's about 11 o'clock on December the 29th. Almost Happy New Year, 2011. And today I'm feeling pretty good because I had a great practice session this morning. And one of the things I think about when I practice is how much a part of me practicing is and playing the trumpet is. I haven't been playing as much lately, and I miss it. And when I practiced this morning, I realized how much I missed it. So I think there are certain parts of us that are trumpet players or musicians that really need to be able to express ourselves musically. And so I encourage you, even when you're maybe not feeling like practicing, to go ahead and do it, because you'll feel better when you finish, I'm quite sure. Today I wanted to talk about Claude Gordon. And what's so great about Claude Gordon? Many of you may not have heard of Claude Gordon, but for many years he was one of the top teachers in Los Angeles, and people would come from all over the world to study with Claude. And opinions about Claude can be quite divisive, and even Claude didn't discourage that by saying, when I first took my lesson with Claude, he says, don't pay any attention to any of that buzzing crap. There's only one way to play the trumpet, and that's the way I'm going to teach you. And I think I've talked about this before. I sort of disregarded the first comment, and I thought, okay, I know this guy's a great teacher. I'm going to see what he has to say, and I stayed with him for almost 2 years and learned a great deal. So I thought I'd pass along some of the things that I think make Claude such an important and still relevant part of our trumpet playing lives. This is Claude's first book. It's quite a large book, as you can see. Systematic Approach to Daily Practice. Later on, this is a self-published book. Later on, Carl Fisher published all of his material. But this is something he published himself in 1965. And it's kind of a fun book. It has pictures of a Claude and Claude. Okay, I'm not too good with the camera, am I? Okay. So anyway, in the beginning it says how to practice, what to practice, when to practice. And that's what he would say. I'm going to teach you what to practice, how to practice, and when to practice. Also, this book was given to Manny Klein, the great studio trumpet player, and Manny gave it to me. And the inscription here says, "To Manny Klein, one of the all-time greats, with deep respect and thanks for being an inspiration. I hope that you enjoy this effort. Sincerely, Claude Gordon." And some of the inscriptions in the beginning of the book, as I did with my book, the Bing book, I had a lot of people who I knew and worked with, asked them to go through the book and see if they'd write some comments about it. Conrad Gazzo, the great lead trumpet player, said, "I have known Claude for a number of years. I also knew him as a great player and also a great teacher. I think his new book should help everyone who is interested in being a good, strong trumpet player." Conrad Gazzo, First Trumpet NBC Studios, Television and Recording, Hollywood, California. And Manny Klein says, "Having just studied the draft for Claude Gordon's studies and knowing that Claude has been working on this book for almost 20 years, I would certainly recommend these studies for every young student, plus some of us old-timers. Sincerely, Manny Klein." Let's see, from Bob Duvall, principal trumpet in the Los Angeles Philharmonic at that time. "Claude Gordon's systematic approach to daily practice has one of the most sound approaches to developing a tremendous range. His explanation of the pedal register is excellent, and no other book has the practice of Ks been given its proper importance." And so it's got all the top players of the day. John Kleiman, who was first trumpet in the LA Phil and Hollywood Bowl, presently first trumpet in the 20th Century Fox Studio, says, "This is the one method that truly prepares the student as well as the aspiring professional for the demands and the high register endurance and facility that confronts the modern business player." John Kleiman, also a great trumpet player and teacher. And throughout has sides that there's some of the old-timers that you may not remember. But Claude Gordon's biography in the beginning of this, the book right here. Can you see that? Yeah, there it is. Okay. With a picture of Claude. In the beginning of the book, it talks about his biography, and he said he began his study at the age of 8, and was from Helena, Montana. He studied with the late Dr. Herbert L. Clark and Louis Maggio, and part of the fun of studying with Claude was getting some insight into how Clark would approach his books. And he was first trumpet for the CBS Broadcasting Company for 11 years. And he formed his own orchestra which won the title Best New Band in America in a contest of 183 bands from the United States and Canada. So he did quite a few things and distinguished himself and focused most of his part of his life on teaching. And so one of the other things that I have, which I don't think many people have, is this book here called Trumpet by James Boyd Grafmeyer. And my mother was kind enough to give this book to me. And it is similarly inscribed or endorsed by Claude Gordon, as some did to his book. He was kind enough to do this for James Graffner's book. And I think it says something about Claude's approach to playing. It said, "In reviewing this material, it is not my purpose to criticize nor to condone any of the many different ideas presented in this volume. Rather, it is to congratulate Mr. Grafmeyer for his presentation of all the material in this one volume. The professor and the student alike become the judge of the values of these ideas and the many more that result, depending on their experience and knowledge. True science must prove its results. It is the same with the instrument. The final proof of the worthiness of any of the ideas is what comes out of the bell." An interesting and comparative book, Claude Gordon. So I thought that was really well said. It says, "True science must prove its results. It is the same with the instrument. The final proof of the worthiness of any of the ideas is what comes out of the bell." And so this is just a little bit about the book here. It's sort of a trumpet talk of its day. It doesn't seem to be much in the way of pictures or exercises, but it has etudes, not etudes, sorry. It has, for example, it says power and velocity, and then it recommends, it's similar to kind of what you might get in a Claude Gordon study or lesson. He gives you exercises like the Clark technical studies, top tones of Irving Bush, top tones of Walter Smith, velocity exercises in St. Jacome, etc., etc. So it's a fun book. I haven't spent a lot of time with it, but I think it's full of wonderful ideas. Then you've got all these other books from Claude, the 30 velocity studies. When I studied with Claude, his exercises, I would work out of the systematic approach in the daily routines book, which were published at that point. And later on, he came out with the 30 velocity studies. He says, "Bill, I hope you enjoy these. Sincerely, Claude Gordon." These velocity studies do much of what they start in the double pedal register. Boom, 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 and are based, I believe, on the St. Jacome studies. Tongue level exercises. He also came out with this book, which is a really wonderful book. And he says, "To Bill Bing, a fine player and student, sincerely, Claude Gordon." And this is a great book. It starts off of tonguing, but it's also a lip slur study book. And it's based, as you can see, I think a lot on the Earl Irons studies. He was a real fan of the Earl Irons books. And so he took and sort of put his own spin on the Earl Irons studies, adding some glisses and things like that. So another thing that he did was of great value. I think he knew the Arbin book and the St. Jacome book as well as anybody I've ever met. And so his editions of those two books, I think, I would probably guess are the best ones out there, but I haven't seen them all. So once again, I'm sure there's some other great ones out there. So, these are a lot of the wonderful things about Claude that perhaps some of you might not have heard before. He was controversial and remains controversial to this day. And indeed, I found some of his ideas controversial. And when I studied with him, he strongly encouraged me to use his trumpet and his mouthpiece, but he didn't force it on me. I stayed, I think, with I think I was playing box at the time. And he was cool, even though he encouraged me, he didn't force me and to use his equipment. I did try his mouthpiece for a while, and there's some people that really liked his mouthpieces, but I couldn't quite get used to it. The rim was quite thin. Other controversies were such that, he was very much not a buzzing guy. And that continues, that controversy will continue as long as we're playing trumpet. It is something for us to think about and contemplate and argue about, and in the process, the distilling of those different ideas will come out with even better and better concepts for practicing and playing. So that's it for today. Hope you found this interesting, and it's some of my insight into the great player and teacher, Claude Gordon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.